I'm Jason Kalama, the host of the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. All of 2017, I'm listening to a comedy album a day. And for March, Women's History Month, I'm only listening to female comedians. You can watch the rest of this video at youtube.com/comedy on vinyl. I am playing catch up a little bit. Saturday, I actually volunteered for Podcastathon 2017, which was amazing. So much fun. And a lot of great female comedians there, too. And a lot of other dudes that I'm familiar with on podcasts. Got to see a lot of people live I've never seen live before. So much fun. But now that I'm playing catch up, I was going to be doing the next in the line of Rusty Warren's albums. I was going to be doing Rusty Warren Bounces Back. And I put the album on, pulled it out of the sleeve, put it on. And all of a sudden this comes on, which I already owned. But apparently that means I own 2 copies of these. So, of this. Rusty Warren in Orbit. Now, this is great. I mean, look at that sly smile. She's got sparkles. She's got glitter in her hair. This is 1962, so it's space age. And so it starts out with her talking about how the ultimate specimen of American man is the astronaut. And she volunteers to be the first person to sleep with him in space. And how gravity is an issue, and she'd have to put a brick on his butt with a string attached to it so that he could perform. It's very silly, typical with Rusty. But thematically, I think it's great, and I think it's a little more general in terms of the audience. Now, she generally does shoot for making sure that women are comfortable talking about sex, but throughout this whole album, it's got a couple different themes. And one of them is that everybody should be comfortable not just hearing about sex or anything, but also just talking about it and laughing about it. That's a big thing. Like, she goes out of her way to say it. What's so interesting is, like, there are not a lot of comedians who have this kind of skill. I mean, she can belt, she can sing just so beautifully. And also do, kind of goofy Catskill shtick. But at the same time, she can just come out and have a theme to what she does. And I don't know if it's accepted more at the time because it's a woman and women are quote unquote more emotional. So we're supposed to accept, that's just her emotional thing. But she's got a theme. And, there's a thesis to the things she does, and she gets to state them outright. And I don't know if that might be one of the few advantages that a predominantly male audience, wherever you go, is going to give her. Again, because they're going to assume she's over emotional, and they're just not going to. The intellectual part's just going to go completely over their head. But either way, this entire album is solid in terms of that. I mean, there's great songs. It's all incredibly goofy. And towards the end, she talks a lot about, it's not just, like I said, there's, you have to be able to laugh about sex. You have to be able to, talk about sex as part of it, but you have to be able to laugh about sex. And it closes with, you have to have a sense of, there's a song where you have to be able to laugh at yourself. And this just seems like a trite thing that we think of now, but I think is a pretty refreshing message for 1962. When the whole goal is, you're here to laugh at me. That's real. I mean, that's what she does. I mean, there's so many times in a lot of these albums where she's presenting herself as a as a wanton hussy, which is it's just not a word she necessarily uses. But I'm using a goofy and intentionally out of date term. But somebody who just sleeps around. That's the character she's playing. And without judgment, I think she knows that how it's going to come across. But the character she plays is so incredibly gleeful about it that the point should become obvious quick that that's not the point. The point is just to get to the point of talking about it at all. And look at this example that she's serving on stage. She's a woman, not just talking about sex, but she's made up this character who has this incredible promiscuous past, which if you listen to my interview with her, is not true. She's a pretty, I would say socially demure lady, but she's got a mouth on her and it's great. She just loves to express herself, and it's a friggin' delight. And this is no exception. And it does have that sort of taste of the space age, which feels like something like, Rusty, you should do something space themed, because I have so many albums from this period that are, Adventures in Space, and this in space, and that in space. Great, awesome rockets on the cover. I think this actually holds up in terms of, especially even just the color design. If you want to look at the cover, it does hold up with some of those other albums. I mean, she's got a sparkly blue dress that looks like the night sky. And it's also usually those albums had a pretty lady on the cover too, to entice you. Usually with a goofy face, but actually I think, I don't know. I think, like I said, it's a very sly smile that invites you in, and like you said, what you're getting immediately, even if you don't know who Rusty Warren is. It's a super fun album. They're all good. I enjoy Rusty Warren's albums. and I think they would still hold up as party album material. Yes, there's some people who would be listening to it because, hey, listen to this old thing, but it's there's plenty of value to it. It's very goofy, it's very silly, but it's also important, incredibly important. So please go to RustyWarren.com. You can still buy her albums. Rusty's awesome. She's so much fun. I'm proud to call her a friend, and I'm lucky that I got to interview her for my podcast. You should check that out. There are 2 episodes. It's a 2-parter that you should check out at comedyonvinyl.com. You can follow us on Twitter at comedyonvinyl, on Instagram at comedyonvinyl, etc., etc., etc. Well, thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a good thing.